Hey guys, Camera23 back again with a video, and today is going to be part 3 of my Blu-ray collection. Now I promised you that there wasn't going to be as much time from part 2 to part 3, and I've kept my promise, although it depends when I upload this really. And yeah, let's get on with it. First up in this part is Kill Bill Volume 2. Now I mentioned on my last collection video that this is my favourite Kill Bill film, which it is, even though it's kind of referred to more as kind of a continuation of the first one. Like I also said, the first one is kind of the kind of kind of martial arts kind of film. This is more the kind of kung fu samurai film. So yeah. Next up is my favourite film of last year, Kill List, directed by one of my favourite directors at the moment, Ben Wheatley, who's got a new film coming out soon. This stars Neil Maskell and Michael Smiley, who you may know as Tyres from Space, and Neil Maskell's been in Football Factory and a few other films. And this follows a couple of hitmen who go on a job, and basically they obviously kill all these people, and then at the end they kind of get involved with this kind of weird cult. Amazing film. As I said, Ben Wheatley, one of my favourite directors at the moment. If you haven't checked this out, you really should do. It's really good. British kind of. It's not particularly horror, but it has horror aspects in it. So yeah, Kill List. Next up is Knocked Up. This isn't my favourite Judd Apatow film. I mean, I do enjoy it, but I don't know. Just not particularly like the character Seth Rogen plays in this. I can't remember his name. Which is always good. I did have something on DVD, just recently upgraded to a Blu-ray, so yeah, Knocked Up. Next up is Ken Loach film, Looking for Eric. Kind of stars Eric Cantona, also think he helped produce it as well. It's basically about a postman, played by Steve Evetts, who you may have seen from things like Shameless and stuff like that. And he basically stars as a postman who's basically had a mental breakdown. He's split up from his wife a few years ago, just kind of in a downward spiral, and then he has a vision or premonition, no, not premonition, a vision of Eric Cantona kind of helps him through his life and stuff. There's also a subplot involving a kind of a local gangster. They're pretty good. Not Ken Loach's best film by a long shot, but still pretty good. Next up is an amazing horror film, really good horror film, the Australian horror film Loved Ones. Now, I really enjoyed this. It's just balls to the wall, kind of horror, psychological stuff. Amazing. She's amazing in it. Robin McLeavy playing the, I suppose you class her as a villain. And basically, he, I can't remember his name. Basically, he gets asked out to the prom by Lola, and he says no, and she kind of takes it the wrong way and kidnaps him. Well, her dad kidnaps him, and kind of starts torturing him. They kind of do. It's kind of quite a lot of fucked up shit happens in this film, but again, really good horror film. Next up is an underrated Peter Jackson film, in my opinion, Lovely Bones. It's got kind of not really slated, but kind of didn't get particularly good reviews from critics. So I guess it kind of divided people, but I really enjoy it. Basically about, again, it's not kind of like the most upbeat kind of subject matter, child murder, but anyway. Next up is a Japanese, I believe, or maybe, yeah, I think Japanese film, Love Exposure, and it is, was it 237 minutes, which is just under 4 hours, I believe. Yep. I've yet to watch this, and obviously because you need to kind of set back quite a lot of time to watch it. Again, I'm not quite sure what the story. It's kind of an amalgamation of different stories, but anyway. Next up is one of my favourite films of this year, Martha May Marlene. The only thing that annoyed me about this Blu-ray is the fact that I have to pay 20 quid for it, but believe it or not, that was the cheapest I could find it at. And yeah, amazing film, this, really good film. I believe it was Elizabeth Olsen's first film, I believe. Starring John Hawkes, really good actor as well. Basically about a girl who gets involved with this kind of a cult, and the cult leader and she kind of escapes, and it kind of flips between kind of the present and the past. Again, the film, I don't think it would have worked as well if it was just like kind of a linear story, but seeing it kind of goes back between tenses or whatever. It's a really good film. Next up we have Lars von Trier film, Melancholia. That's a really good film, this. And this was the film that was shown at the Cannes Film Festival. But then what happened, he kind of likened himself to a Nazi or whatever, and now he's banned from showing any of his films at the Cannes Film Festival. Which kind of gives him a bit of edge in my opinion. And it's basically kind of two different stories. It kind of involves Kirsten Dunst's character, I can't remember what her name is, wedding, and basically she's kind of mentally unstable, I guess. And yeah, it's her wedding to Alexander Skarsgård. You may know from True Blood, which I don't watch. And but in the end, it's basically that's the first half of the film, and the second half of the film is kind of set near the end of the world. Basically, they find out that a planet called Melancholia is hurtling towards the Earth and is going to destroy it. Really good kind of arty film. Got a lot of good kind of like, I haven't seen it myself, but kind of like the Tree of Life, I guess. I'm not quite sure, so I haven't seen it. And yeah, so that's that. Next up is the Frank Darabont film, The Mist. Really good film, this. It just kind of encapsulates a kind of claustrophobic atmosphere. Basically a mist comes and throws up all these kind of different monsters. They have to hole up in a shopping mall, I believe it is, or supermarket, and basically try and survive. Really good ending to this. It says in the back, with an ending that continues to shock audiences the world over, which I totally agree with. Next up is Moon, starring Sam Rockwell, and also the voice of Kevin Spacey, of course, playing Gertie. This is basically a film about a guy who can't exactly remember the story, but basically he is on this spaceship and they're trying to mine some kind of, I believe, some kind of new energy or something. And he basically finds out that, well, it's not really a spoiler, but he basically finds out that he's a clone, and he finds his other clone and tries to kind of get the information about kind of why he's there. Really good film, directed by David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, although his firstborn name was Zoe Bowie or Zowie Bowie, whichever. Next up is the Robert Rodriguez is half of the Grindhouse films, Planet Terror. Now, this is the kind of the really, there's basically the zombie film of the two. Even though personally I do prefer Death Proof a bit more. Features Bruce Willis, Rose McGowan, which was actually attractive, and yeah, really good film. Yeah, that's basically it. Next up is the Rob Reiner film, Princess Bride. This is an absolutely amazing film, starring Carrie Elwes and Robin Wright, and also starred Andre the Giant, Wallace Shawn, Peter Falk. Yeah, and it basically starts off with a grandfather telling a story to his sick grandson, played by Fred Savage, and basically he tells him kind of this tale of, again, I haven't watched this in a while, but a really good film. So yeah, Princess Bride. Next up we have Wreck. This is a Spanish found footage film about a group of people who, the TV reporters go to this house where kind of weird stuff's been happening, and they get trapped in there, and they find a load of zombies, and they're trying to kind of survive and get away. Again, I haven't actually seen this film, but I've heard very good things about it. And carry on with Rec 2, which takes place, 15 minutes after the first one, so it's kind of more of a continuation of the first film. Again, I haven't seen this, so I can't really see, I don't know if, kind of that sequel syndrome with sequels not being half as good as the other ones, but I'm pretty sure people say that it's just as good as the first one. Next up is Rise of the Foot Soldier, a British gangster film. Very, very violent, this film, kind of gritty violence. Basically about well, originally he's a football hooligan who kind of rises up the ranks of the London underground underworld, and his downfall, basically. Again, very violent film, not for the faint of heart whatsoever. Next up is Guy Ritchie film, Rock and Roller. Again, underrated Guy Ritchie film. I believe saw it at the cinema. I thought it was really good. Yeah, it's kind of convoluted plot, so I won't really get into it that much. Next up is Rocky Horror Picture Show, the 35th anniversary, or it says here 35 years of absolute pleasure. Now, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure I have never seen this from beginning to end, so I should do that really. It's kind of full of the kind of the sing-along and stuff. Again, really kind of camp, kind of musical. Next up, Role Models, really good film this, starring Paul Rudd, Sean William Scott and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. One of the better kind of well, not kind of gross out, but comedy films. Yeah, basically that's it. And next up is the epic war film, Saving Private Ryan. Again, if this isn't on your favourite movies of all time list, there's something wrong with you. One of the best war films ever made. This is the 2-disc special edition. So I'm going to get the shitty steelbook. And basically, if you don't know the story of this, again, there's something wrong with you. Next up is one of the best gangster films of all time, Scarface. And I believe one of, well, in my opinion, one of Al Pacino's best performances of playing Tony Montana. And this, again, I think everyone knows what Scarface is about. Next up is Sex Drive. I didn't really know kind of what to think of this film before I saw it, because I thought it was going to be one of those kind of shitty American Pie knockoffs. Again, really surprised me. I thought it was really funny. I watched it on television first. And, I mean, the extended one isn't that great. It's not as funny. But, yeah, again, really funny film. About this guy, Josh Zuckerman, I believe. Yeah, Josh Zuckerman, who's basically starts a relationship with a woman of the internet and kind of has to drive kind of cross country to basically lose her virginity to her. And yeah, that's basically the story of that. Next up is a really good film of last year. It is Shame. Oh, was it last year? Or was it this year? Oh, I think it might have been this year actually. Yeah, basically, brilliant performance by Michael Fassbender, as always. Basically, he stars as, I can't remember what his character is, Brandon, who is a sex addict. And he kind of coasts along life, kind of having sex with loads of women, kind of, but he's not having a very fulfilled life. And then his sister comes to stay with him, who's got a job where he lives, and he kind of life spirals out of control because of her, more or less. So, yep. Next up is Shaun of the Dead, great zombie horror comedy horror film, or rom-zom-com as they refer to it as. Again, really good comedy with zombies. So yeah. Next up is Shifty. This is a low-budget British film starring one of my favourite British actors, Daniel Mays, and also Riz Ahmed, who you may have seen in Ill Manners if you saw that, and Four Lions as well. Really good film about a day in the life of a London drug dealer. Basically, a friend of his who kind of left a few years ago, kind of returns to kind of basically see his old friend really, and kind of gets involved with his life basically. So yeah. Next up is Sin City. Really good kind of comic book noir film, directed by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez, and a guest directing job by Quentin Tarantino. I think he directed a couple of scenes. I haven't seen this for quite a while, but I remember it being really good. I think the standout performance for me was Elijah Wood, because you kind of see him playing outside of his comfort zone, really, playing that, I can't remember what his character is, but kind of that mute guy who gets his legs eaten by dogs, which is always good. Next up is a film that I saw on Maticus Tatui's one of his updates, which we still haven't seen this film, but I really need to get around to seeing it. It is Sling Blade, directed by and written, I believe. Yeah, written for the screen and directed by Billy Bob Thornton. Again, I kind of don't really want to go into the plot too much, because I just don't. And yeah, that's basically it. Next up is another Guy Ritchie film, obviously one of his most well known. It is Snatch, starring Brad Pitt, Benicio del Toro, Dennis Farina, Jason Statham, and one of my other favourite. Hang on. No, that's in Lock, Stock anyway. No, it was Snatch, yeah, and Stephen Graham, one of my favourite British actors as well. Yeah, I think everybody knows the plot to this, so I'm not going to go into it. Next up is a Australian crime drama. It is Snowtown. Again, very gritty film. This it is not going to be for everyone. It's quite kind of grittingly violent. I think that's a word. And basically based on the Snowtown murders of, and I believe in America it is called the Snowtown murders of I think Adelaide in late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I think. And yeah, basically the guy John kind of ingratiates him into this family, and kind of grooms the not grooms, but the oldest child into becoming his kind of protege. He kind of takes him under his wing, and kind of brings him along when he's killing people. He's also a bigot and a kind of hates homosexuals, kind of prejudice, that's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, really gritty film, very violent as well. There is a particular scene in it which is very hard to watch. Oh, and I remember when I went to see this at the cinema, there was about 7 walkouts in that one scene, which I've never seen before. And so yeah. Our next up is really good drama film, Social Network, obviously based on the founding of Facebook. Okay, one of Fincher's better films, I believe. And I saw this for a free screening at my local cinema, which is always good to see a really good film for free. And yeah, again, basically more or less everybody knows about this film. Next up is Spartacus, one of obviously Kubrick being my favourite director of all time. But I don't think this is quite his masterpiece, but it is really, really good. Also starring Kirk Douglas as the Roman slave Spartacus, who kind of leads a revolution. And yeah, it's quite a long film. Yep, nearly 3 hours 20 minutes. That's all I have to say about that. And next up is my favourite Spider-Man film. It is Spider-Man 3. Again, I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying that, but it is. Although maybe it was because it was the first Spider-Man film I saw at the cinema. Well, no, wait, did I see the first one? Yeah, I think I did actually. But anyway, that's Spider-Man 3. Next up is The Strangers, an American kind of home invasion film starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. It's a really good film. This basically Liv Tyler's character and Scott Speedman's character kind of come home from a wedding. They've had problems in the relationship, and yeah, they go to this kind of family cottage where they want to stay, and they hear a knock on the door, and there's a woman standing there who's asking for someone who doesn't live there, and basically all this kind of weird stuff starts happening, and they kind of invade their home. Really good horror film, really scary. It's not kind of scary in kind of the violent sense, but it is kind of psychologically scary. So yeah. Next up is one brilliant film of last year. It is Submarine, directed by Richard Ayoade, starring I can never remember his name. Craig Roberts and one of my favourite actor of all time, Paddy Considine. right there, sporting a very good mullet. And yeah, it's basically a story about a kid who believes his family is kind of falling apart, and he fancies this this girl in his class, and he tries to kind of, I don't know, fit in with her, I guess. Again, really funny film, hilariously funny. I was laughing out loud a lot when I saw this at the cinema. And so yep, Submarine. Next up is my favourite Danny Boyle film, I've decided, is Sunshine. Really good sci-fi film. Basically this space space crew are tasked with basically I think is it the sun has stopped turning or something? Yeah, the sun is dying and they have to kind of let off a bomb to kind of reignite it. Really good film, as I said. Next up is Super, directed by James Gunn, who also directed Slither, and I think he wrote for a few Troma films. Starring Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, Liv Tyler and Kevin Bacon. Really good kind of... No, well, I don't think it was it comic book adaptation, maybe? No, I don't... Oh, was it? No, I don't think it was. Really good, basically. It is... Maybe people do kind of compare it to Kick-Ass, which I kind of can see kind of similarities between it, but it isn't really the same. It's very different kind of style to Kick-Ass, with that being the kind of the comic book style more, where this is kind of an indie feel, I believe, to it. And basically about a guy, Rainn Wilson, whose wife leaves him for a drug dealer, Kevin Bacon, and basically tries to get her back, and he decides to become a superhero, the Crimson Bolt, and tries to kind of clean up the city, but not kind of just the people who kind of the drug dealers, but also people who kind of just like cut in line at the cinema. Very kind of shockingly funny and violent scene about that. And so yeah, that's basically it. Next up is one of my favourite comedies. It is Superbad. Really good film, this. I love the fact that it's set in one day as well. I love those kind of films where it's just kind of a day in the life kind of thing. And basically, I think we all know the story to this. Basically, they're trying to get booze to lose their virginities, more or less, basically. And next up is Syriana, starring George Clooney, Matt Damon and Jeffrey Wright. I mean, I know there was a kind of a couple of years where all these kind of political thrillers were coming out. Syriana, Rendition and Babel being another one. But this is one of the better ones, in my opinion. It's more about the oil, kind of the corruption that comes with kind of mining oil and stuff. Really good film. Next up is a Paul Thomas Anderson film, the only one I actually have on Blu-ray. It is There Will Be Blood, starring Daniel Day-Lewis. Now, I think I have to check out this film out again, because when I saw it on television, I wasn't that impressed by it. But I've heard other people raving about it, so I'll give it another chance, I think. Also stars Paul Dano, playing a double role as brothers. Next up is Terrence Malick film, Thin Red Line. Again, I haven't checked this out yet. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's kind of, with Terrence Malick, it is kind of more kind of to do with, you know, kind of more arty kind of war film. Again, I don't really quite know the story, but I haven't seen it. Next up is another one of my favourite comedies, is This Is Spinal Tap. Now, the other thing that annoys me about this Blu-ray is that when you're kind of alphabetising it, because the Spinal Tap is kind of in big letters, I always forget that that it starts with T, not an S, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I think we know all of the story of this. Again, if you haven't seen this film yet, there's something wrong with you. Next up is Toy Story 1. I think it might be my third favourite one. I'm not sure. I think I'll have to watch them again. I mean, in my opinion, kind of Disney films, well, kind of the Pixar films on Blu-ray aren't kind of well, they are good, but they're not kind of that much different to DVD from what I can see. Yeah, so I've got all 3 of these films. They're basically in a box set, but as with the Batman box set, the box kind of ripped a bit, so I thought, forget it, I might as well just take them out. Next is my favourite Toy Story film. It's Toy Story 2. Probably my favourite Pixar film as well. Yeah, really good films. Takes place a few years after the first one. And basically, Woody gets captured by or stolen by a toy collector, and the other toys trying to get him back. Yep, Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. Amazing film. This. I'm not ashamed to say that the ending nearly made me cry, especially the furnace scene. Again, really good film. So yeah, I think it's probably my second favourite, then 2, then 1. Yeah, that's basically kind of Andy, who's all kind of grown up now, goes off to college, and the toys find out they're going to be left behind, and they try and kind of go with him, and then they get sold to a daycare and have to try and escape from it. Yep. And last bit on this part 3, it is Triangle. Really good kind of horror thriller, starring Melissa George and a young Liam Hemsworth. I can never, because obviously he's his brother Chris kind of is the more famous one, so I can never remember. I think he's in the Hunger Games, Liam Hemsworth, I think. So I can never remember which brother is in which film. But anyway, also it's kind of weird is that on the back of this Blu-ray it says DVD extras, but whatever. Yeah, this is an upgrade to Blu-ray from DVD. That's a really good film. Basically, Mr. George's character goes off with her friends on a yacht trip, and they get stranded by this electrical storm, and they find this ship, and then they get on it, and kind of weird shit starts happening. Again, this is a kind of more or less a remake of Time Crimes or Los Cronos Crímenes. I'm not very good at Spanish, and yeah, that's basically it, really. And yeah, so basically it for part 3 of my Blu-ray collection. I hope it wasn't too painful for you, and put a comment below what your opinions of some of these films. And yeah, I think it's basically it now, so please rate, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on either the next video or part 4. Thanks for watching.